Hello, wrestling fans. This is your boy Alan Cotton with the latest edition of the Final Verdict Wrestling Review for the July 11th, 2011 edition of Monday Night Raw. This is actually going to be a pretty quick review because I don't really have many things to say about tonight's Raw. To be honest, I'm kind of disappointed in tonight's Raw when you compare it to the previous night of the TNA pay-per-view known as Destination X. I personally think Raw felt kind of flat. None of the matches really hit anything off for me. Of course, the Divas match wasn't that great because the Raw Divas are very average right now. Of course, you got the six-man tag with the participants of the Money in the Bank ladder match, which is only there to sell the Money in the Bank ladder match. The highlight of that was the promos everybody cut before with, of course, my man, R-Truth, giving out the wrong kind of phobias. He said he's afraid of heights, but he called it arachnophobia. And of course, arachnophobia is fear of spiders. Aquaphobia is the fear of heights, for people that don't understand that. But he cleared it up by saying he's also afraid of spiders, and he gave out my favorite line. As usual, R-Truth is giving out the best lines on Raw. Saying that it's a conspiracy if he gets in the ring and finds not spiders, but spiders. So, he climbs up, he's talking about climbing up the ladder and he's talking about reaching the briefcase. And he goes, if I reach that briefcase and I open it up and I find a spotter, the grit's going to hit the pan. So, big kudos out to R-Truth, man. He's having fun out there every week. I'm having fun looking at him. Of course, we had a definite con of the night was the handicap match between Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler against the Big Show as a way of punishment from Vince McMahon after he overhears Vicky, Dolph, and Drew kind of making fun of his breath and the way he walks and just the typical Vince insults. So Vince being the very vindictive man that he is, he puts them in a handicap match against the one and only Big Show. Now this match is not only was the match bad, but it was just all around just the extracurriculars after was bad, simply for the fact that you almost forget that it's a handicap match because Dolph Ziggler just disappears somewhere and Big Show squashes Drew McIntyre for 5-6 minutes up the ramp. He's about to chokeslam him off the ramp, and all of a sudden out of nowhere here comes Mark Henry, who's the Big Show's biggest nemesis at this point, and is doing his thing on SmackDown, may I add. He comes in, shoves off Drew McIntyre and Big Show so hard that he himself all three men fall over the staging area, fall on, of course, into the electrical circuit breaker area. And I just thought it was a big schmoz. I really didn't like the angle. That's probably one of my least favorite Mark Henry moments since he turned heel and got traded to SmackDown. He's still on the road, though. It's not taking any steam off of him. I just thought it was a really bad segment, but something told me that Mark Henry was going to show up because you got Big Show squashing the U.S. champion and Drew McIntyre, who's been called the chosen one, but he's getting squashed every week on Raw. So I guess they're not choosing him rightly. So you got that. I thought that was a definite con. They didn't have very many matches. I think they had about 4 or 5 matches, probably tops. I just thought it was a very off Raw. The opening segment was a definite pro on Raw as far as the interaction between CM Punk and John Cena. My favorite line of that is, when John Cena comes out, CM Punk goes, well, this is the guy who got my job back that I didn't want in the first place. So, I got to give it to CM Punk. CM Punk is he's been hitting everything on all cylinders every week after week after week. I definitely missed him last week as he was storyline suspended. But, this week he returns and he's just hitting it. He's knocking it out the park every time he gets the mic in his hand. The last portion of the show was not a main event match, but a main event segment, as they were going to, as Vince McMahon and CM Punk will actually agree to negotiate CM Punk's contract in public in the ring. Something you never seen before is you might want to, in reference to the contract signings they normally have for the main eventers. CM Punk basically carried that segment on his back and was doing an excellent job of it. It's almost as good as his promo he cut at the end of Raw 2 weeks ago, as he basically let off all the frustration and anger that he had. It was great as he talked about every perk in his contract And the highlight of that, two highlights actually. The first one would be the fact that he put in his contract he wants to bring back the old WWF ice cream bars with his face on them. And if you watched the show tonight, you know that arena absolutely exploded when they heard that. I mean, a wrestling fan like myself remember those ice cream bars. A lot of wrestling fans want those ice cream bars back, especially if you remember them. If you don't remember them, you need to go back into your nostalgia, back into your heritage, and see what those were about. Very good ice cream bars, very, very nostalgic, bringing back, 1989, 1988 nostalgic type feel right there. Very good moment. Second highlight of his promo was the fact that he said he is doing this for his friends, Colt Cabana and Luke Gallows, who should be with him. I very, very much agree with that. I think both men were released way too early, especially Colt Cabana, aka Scotty Goldman, which is what they called him in WWE. They should have never been released. They should have been given a chance. But of course, in WWE, here today, gone tomorrow type of thing. Isn't that right, Braden Walker? So, it was a very good segment. Of course, Cena comes out and Cena gives out the usual, I really like the serious John Cena segments. I really don't like the poopy jokes and all that. He's trying to be funny. I like serious, intense John Cena. That's my personal preference. You have whatever preference you like. Some people may not like John Cena. No, I personally like John Cena. I'm just not, a groupie for him like the kids are and things like that. That's their prerogative. That's their superhero, much like Hulk Hogan was in my era. Very good segment, though. Very good thing about CM Punk when he bring up a lot of baseball and sports references, and when it comes to Boston and how they think they're the underdogs, which a lot of Boston teams are not the underdogs, especially the Celtics and the Patriots, more specifically the Patriots. And not only that, he segues that into saying that John Cena is no longer an underdog. I mean, the man was a 10-time WWE champion. That's not an underdog. That's you're pretty much at the top of the heap right there. And he had to bring that to John Cena's attention. And not only that, for the baseball fans between New York and Boston, you know how serious it is what I'm about to say. He called John Cena a Yankee. That threw off John Cena. John Cena had to slug him one, knocking Punk out the ring. You already know Boston and New York. John Cena's from Massachusetts. I mean, it was just a very crazy moment. Very good moment, especially if you're a baseball fan or you know your baseball history. You don't make New York references to a Boston guy. Basically, is what he's trying to say. So it all came off pretty well at the end of the segment. But like I said, the Raw as a whole, you see how quick this review is going. I mean, I'm going on about 8 minutes because there's not much to talk about. This was very much their hard sell for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and I think they did a somewhat average job of that. And what I average by, I mean, the talking segments pretty much carried the show, more specifically the CM Punk segments, not so much the wrestling. And with that said, the final verdict for the July 11, 2011 edition of Monday Night Raw is a 6. Yes, people, the lowest rating I've given since I started this YouTube show. Monday Night Raw gets a 6. The hard sell for Money in the Bank. I think CM Punk probably sold that pay-per-view by himself. I don't even think they need Money in the Bank participants because CM Punk did it on his own. I gotta give it a 6. Very average show. When you compare it to Destination X, this is a very flat show. I was really anticipating 2 great nights of wrestling, but I only ended up getting 1, which was last night. So hopefully Thursday and Friday they'll pick up the slack. So tonight's Monday Night Raw is a 6. I want you guys to tune in on Thursday. I will be reviewing Impact Wrestling. Friday, I will be reviewing Friday Night SmackDown. And also, Saturday, I will be reviewing the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I want you guys to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, giving out reviews, giving out shows. Make sure you add my channel, Maniac Wrestle. Keep tuning into these shows every week, and I keep bringing them to you. That said, this is your boy Alan Cotton. Final Verdict Wrestling Review. Y'all have a good night.